From humble beginnings in the theme park business, Gavin Seipelt has gone on to truly live his dreams. Passionate and with a real love of the industry, he now relishes his role with attraction design company Pico, helping create immersive guest environments across a diverse range of clients. Recorded with the ambient noise of the May 2022 Alara conference around us, I know you'll find Gavin's love of all things theme parks infectious. If you're enjoying park life, don't forget to take a moment to rate, review and share. It all helps in spreading the word. This week, let's meet Gavin Seipelt. Here we are at Alara 2022. After a 2-year hiatus, the conference is back in full swing, meeting a lot of interesting characters and people that are familiar faces from times past. One such person is Gavin Seipelt, and he's sitting with me now. Did I get that surname right?
That's right.
Now,
how you doing, Michael?
I'm doing well, buddy. Good to see you.
Likewise.
You're currently with Pico Play.
Correct.
Can you describe that role to us?
So basically, I design theme park attractions. And so Pico is a company, and we're kind of a bit multifaceted. We do everything from thematic fabrication, we do master planning, set design, attraction design, and we also do a bit of sort of operation consultancy and feasibility studies, that kind of thing. So we're kind of pretty start to finish, and so I'm in my element.
That's fantastic, mate. And what I'd like to do is go right back in time, because I think your story is quite inspirational. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you originally started your theme park life at Warner Brothers Movie World.
Correct, yeah. It was summer 2007, working in food and beverage and mobiles and out in the sort of the sweaty Queensland summer, but it was good fun, you know.
For people that don't know, what does that mean when you say I was working food and beverage mobiles?
So theme parks have like these mobile carts that sort of get wheeled out and around the park, and so, you know, selling things like hot dogs and popcorn and churros and that kind of stuff. And it's one of the harder ones, because you're actually out in the street and they want you to spruik and, you know, hot dogs, cold drinks, chocolate bars, that kind of thing. And you're really sort of interacting with the crowds and in the thick of it, and often you're the ones getting smashed. You know, you're the first ones out in the mornings and last ones back in the evening. So yeah, I started off doing that.
What attracted you to even get into the industry in the first place?
Well, I'm one of those sort of theme park nerds from way back. I don't know if anyone recalls, there was a game that came out in the 90s called Roller Coaster Tycoon. It was kind of like Sim City, but you'd build theme parks, and I think that kind of spurned on this whole generation of theme park enthusiasts, as you call them. And I sort of started off playing that, and then even before that, when I was a kid, I used to love drawing water slides and that kind of thing. And I discovered there was this computer game where you could do them, and I thought, oh wow, that's great. And so I sort of started playing this game, and then I think playing that, it kind of sort of spurned on this interest, because that was kind of when, you know, you first, you know, the internet was first, like, you know, a thing when you have it at home. And I kind of realised, well, actually, all these rides in this game, these are real world things, and there's real theme parks that have these real rides. And then I sort of got into theme parks that way, and so I'd always been interested in them, and I suppose at the same time going through high school and that kind of thing, I'd always wanted to do architecture, and so I thought, well, you know, wouldn't it be nice if I could get a career doing theme park attractions? So, and of course, in amongst all that, I, you know, would try and, you know, do theme park trips where I could. You know, I think the first one I did was obviously up to the Gold Coast and visiting all the parks up there. But as soon as I got my passport, my sister was living in the United States at the time, so I, you know, went across to California and started doing parks there and that. And so when I finished high school, I thought, oh, I got into architecture school, and I thought, you know, if I'm going to have a crack at working in the theme park industry, I really need to locate myself in Queensland. So I did that. I moved up here and started my sort of 5-year degree, at University of Queensland. And I suppose the other thing you need to do is you need to sort of have some sort of experience in the industry. So I sort of applied for a seasonal role at Movie World. I wanted to get into attractions, but didn't get that. So I got food and beverage instead. And so I was sort of coming down on the train to Movie World every day, and, you know, working the summer shifts, and then after that I was sort of kept on as, you know, sort of a casual, and it was good because I was able to sort of work weekends in amongst study, and you know, Village were quite good at accommodating that, and I guess I sort of when I was there, I sort of started, you know, knocking on doors and talking to some higher ups, and I think the thing that, you know, I sort of did, I think I sort of when I had a bit of spare time, I just sort of started, you know, drawing up some ideas for some attractions. And then I think, you know, one day when I was working, I think I was working in another outlet, I was working in Gotham City Burgers, and I got a call from Mario Sapina, who was the revenue manager at the time. And he says, oh, you know, Gav, I love your submission. I want you to come and meet Bob White, who was the COO at the time. And I did, and then we sort of sat down, and Bob sort of took me through some of the things were coming up, and introduced me to some of the people in group projects. So I sort of, from there I kind of kept my contacts, kept my job at Movie for the 5 years while I went through study, and then sort of at the end of it, I think I saw Bob White out in the parking, and I said, "Hey, can I have a job?" And he said, "Okay, I'll get back to you." And then didn't hear much for a couple of weeks, and I was thinking, is this the end of the theme park career for me? Am I going to have to go become a real architect? And then I get a call from Chris Thurtell, who was in group projects at the time, and he said, "Oh, Gav, do you want to come in working a couple of days a week?" I'm like, yes, and sort of got off the phone. And I said, "Mum, Dad, I've been offered a part-time position in group projects at Village Roadshow," and I'm like, I was so relieved that I kind of, I'd sort of gotten in there in the end, and from there I sort of worked on multiple attraction projects right through. Probably some of my proudest one was the DC Rivals Hypercoaster, because it was like sort of the biggest, baddest ride Australia's ever done, and it was great. But there were plenty of good projects I did on the way. I really had a soft spot for the DC Villains Unleashed area, because that had all these interactive elements and heavy theming, and I'm sort of really big on heavy theming, so that was great. I did Nickelodeon Land, I did Castaway Bay Reef, I did Wet n Wild Junior, and all these other little bits and bobs over the course of those years in projects. So,
if I can go back a few beats, you talked about even relocating yourself to Queensland because you knew this is where I want to be and I need to put myself in that environment. You were obviously very driven.
I suppose there's a bit of fun to it too. I mean, I grew up in country Victoria from a place called Shepparton, so I had to move to a capital city to study. So I thought, Melbourne's a bit expensive. Why not move up to Queensland? It's cheap and it's nice and it's fun. And that's what I did. And it kind of worked in the world of my career ambitions as well.
What would you say to people that might have ambitions or a dream in their head and a passion like the one you described when you first discovered that you could create theme parks online and there was possibilities?
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who's equally at a stage of their life where they're thinking, "Hey, wouldn't this be great?"
Yeah.
And then what would you tell them in terms of what to do about that?
I think these days it's like it's very easy to sort of pursue your interests. I mean, online communities are a much bigger thing these days, I think. And I think the important thing is definitely have your dream, you can pursue it and put yourself in the right positions and the right places to pursue that. But at the same time, make sure you have some sort of reasonable skill basis that you can fall back on if it doesn't work out. If this hadn't worked out, I would have been equally happy being an architect. So, but I've been fortunate that I've been able to sort of do what I do.
I remember you coming and talking to me about how excited and satisfied you were when some of your ideas were picked up and realised in the Justice League 3D experience at Warner Brothers Movie World.
Yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong, that had the whole Starro element in there and the crashed UFO?
Correct. So the original concept for that attraction, so basically Starro is basically a giant evil starfish, and he's got these little Starro spores that he's kind of scattered over Earth, and they stick on your face and they take over your brain and all that. And there was going to be one scene in the ride where you were going through the city and then you were going to get onto the Starro spaceship, and the scene was going to be that you're going to go through like a sort of projection dome of stars and you were going to teleport onto the spaceship. I thought, hang on, teleporting, that's kind of cheating a bit, right? That's kind of what's like the Deus Ex Machina if I'm not that great at Latin, but that's the word. And I said, wouldn't it be a lot more dramatic if the alien spaceship has actually crash landed on Earth or has landed on Earth and has kind of crushed the car in the process, and you sort of bravely go onto the spaceship that way, and they sort of adopted that scene. So when you go on the ride today, you'll sort of you emerge on the city streets, and there's this kind of scene where there's a freeway and there's a few cars that are crushed and flipped over, and there in the middle is the Starro spaceship. You kind of go in the belly door, and then from there on the sort of the storyline picked up as it was, where you're sort of going through the bowels of the ship and shooting starfish on the walls and in their tanks and that until you eventually blow up the ship and escape. So
you described at the start just what Pico Play is all about and how much goes on there. Is that a business that is a great outlet for your creative and engineering skills?
Oh, definitely. I think in this role now it's definitely a lot more design focused. I mean, previously I had to sort of mix in a bit of project management, which is it's
a bit dry.
It's hard. It's definitely a certain skill set for now. But now we're a bit more sort of purely design focused. And almost sort of coming in at the ideation stage, we get clients actually coming to us. We don't even know what we want. Whereas I suppose quite often at Village, it's kind of they've sort of picked out the ride already, and it's up to projects to kind of make it work and make it good. Whereas now, quite often I've done stuff, at the ground floor and clients have run with it and they've been really happy. So and it's been great to sort of do that stuff. So I've got roller coasters underway. We're doing entire parks overseas. We've got some temporary attractions coming in 2023. So all sorts of stuff.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you you obviously get very satisfied with that work. What gives you the most pride? You talked about the Starro piece and the UFO. What's a Pico project that stands out for real pride in recent time?
Well, there's one I'm particularly proud of. I can't. It's actually it'll be announced in about a month's
time. Still under wraps?
Yeah. It's kind of funny because projects have such a long life cycle. You don't always. And a lot of projects, you'll do the design and then the client will sit on it for a couple of years and eventually decide to build it. That said, we've got this great one at the Singapore Zoo where we've done a lot of spectacular artificial rock work, a huge underground sinkhole that's going to form the entrance to the park, and one here in Australia. I should tell a lie. We Goodbye World down in Victoria, so they're a sort of burgeoning theme park. It was a wildlife park that's been around for years and had a few small amusements. And then, in fact, that was the first big project Pico did, was basically master plan the park, and literally in less than a year, it went from being basically nothing to being almost this world-class theme park that's now continuing to expand. And we did their sort of when I came on board, we did their sort of stage 2 water park expansion, and that opened just at the start of COVID. So I'd never got a chance to see it until I did a site visit back in February. And it has this wonderful resort atmosphere. It's got this huge wave pool. It's got all these, wonderful natural rock work. It's got a couple of big pro slide. It's got a pro slide racing slide and a couple of serpentine body slides, and this really sort of beachy-looking food outlet. And when you go there, myself and Greg, who's our sorry, not design manager, sorry, lead design basically. We looked at it and we're like, wow, this has turned out, absolutely fantastically, and you could tell it was a place that you just feel wonderful going to in summertime. It felt just relaxing. Didn't even sort of feel theme parky at all, even though it had a bit of bright colour. It really just felt like a nice place to go and take your family. So I think it's great sort of seeing these places you can enjoy, and just seeing your drawings come to reality, and that sort of, I love stuff that's really sort of visceral and has a real feeling to it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. What
would you say to that kid that had those dreams and was goofing around on the internet and building theme parks? And
you know what? We've always got. Quite often we've got opportunities for interns, and we've had interns that have stayed through still for us today. Like I think Bryce Clark, who I work with, he was a slider here at White Water World, and he just studied design, and he's like a full time with us now as well. In fact, we often struggle to get interns. So certainly, if you're doing like a design course at the moment and you're wanting to kick off your career, I'd love to hear from you.
Knock on the door.
Yeah.
And for people that don't know, can you just tell us a little bit about where does Pico call home, and if people did want to find out more about you and the business, where would they go?
I can't recall our URL offhand, but it's like Pico Play. If you look it up, we're the first result. We're also on LinkedIn, but our main office is in Nerang. We've also got a satellite office in KL. Our fabrication factory is in Johor, which is just over the border from Singapore. But Pico is actually owned by a bigger company called Pico Group, and they basically started off doing. They do a lot of trade shows and temporary brand activations, and so we're kind of very specialised unit that just does themed attractions. So basically, the Gold Coast in KL is where all the magic happens.
That's wonderful. Well said, mate.
Yeah.
And lastly, what today is your motivation? What gets you out of bed? What drives you?
Well, I just like enjoying life. I mean, like I said, I really enjoy my work, but I love to travel as well. So got to work to pay for that. So when I'm not working, I'm traveling as much as I can. So. And
with Pico, there's obviously a lot of travel by the sounds too.
Not the past couple of years, but definitely it's funny at the moment. I'm here because half the office is over in Malaysia at the moment because I haven't really had a chance to be over there for the past couple of years and checking up on stuff over there. So I'm kind of holding fort here with a few other people, but. Soon enough, I've got to head across to Hong Kong. I'm sure in the near future when they open up for a project over there. So, yeah, absolutely.
It's serendipitous that I saw you today because you're someone that I've always wanted to get on park life, and you're someone that I often refer to other people in terms of staying fixed on your dreams and then putting an action plan together.
Yep.
I remember you being in my office years ago, and I think you still had your apron on, covered in Cheros stains from working in the park.
I'm sure I took that off.
And you, no, I'm pretty sure you were wearing it. And you came in on a Saturday and you showed me a project you'd been working on at uni, and you had designed this from memory. It was either a green lantern or
well, that wasn't even a thing. That was one of the things that came about when we had that little chat with Bob when I got me and Mario, and he sort of gave me their pipipeline of projects that were coming up. So I said, okay, I'll
just play in that space.
Yeah, and said, here's some thoughts on what we should do. And in the end, we didn't quite do Green Lantern. We ended up doing Arkham Asylum, but we did get Green Lantern Coaster in there for the other one. So
I remember telling you, and I've told people this since. I remember saying to you, I've seen a lot of presentations in my career. I've done a lot of presentations in my career. I've never seen anything as good as what you'd shown me, and you were still in your studies, and it's so great to see the success you've had and living your dream. And
thank you.
I think that's a great take home for people that equally might have a vision for what they could achieve in their lives. You're a great example of doing it. So look, mate, thank you for sitting down, and thanks for just agreeing to jump into the space.
You're welcome.
And share your story. It's a wonderful story, and I wish you every future success.
No worries, and good luck with the podcast and everything Village has coming up.
Good on you, buddy. Good
Cheers.
to talk with you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.